Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to another Battlefield terrain tutorial. So in this episode here, we're looking at an urban terrain setup here. One of the easiest, probably the easiest setup to do here. I'm showing you a variety, in this series, showing you a variety of ways to set up different battlefields on the channel. And the idea is that you can follow along step by step. If you want to follow this video all the way through, you can copy this exact terrain setup that you see in front of you. So we'll talk about the foundation, the battle map, the terrain, the accessories, different hints and tips just to achieve the results that you see here on the screen. But it is a series I've been doing just to show people how to set up battlefields 40k and hopefully to help make it a streamlined and easy process for you. So the idea of the video is you can follow along step by step and then gradually build up your terrain so that you can duplicate some of the battlefields that we use on the channel. So do check out the previous tutorials. On the channel homepage, if you scroll down, there is a playlist called Terrain and Painting Tutorials, and on there you'll see all the videos in this new series. The whole idea is just to help you out as you set up your terrain for your games of 40k. It's great to have armies painted and based, but great terrain setups are great fun to play across and really are a great backdrop for your armies. So I encourage you to do it, and if you're not into terrain, then hopefully these videos will help you along the way and give you some inspiration and ideas, and to show you really just how easy it is to set up a nice table for games of 40k. So as per usual, what I'll do is I'll run through step by step. I'll try and link out as much as possible just to show you all different resources as well, so that you can build up your own table. So those links should be in the video description and also in the comments section as well. Now this particular table here, it's like a ruined city, and there is sort of a chaos, imperial but also chaos theme going on with this big chaos symbol in the middle and the blood splatters as well. It's quite a thematic table, this one. So that's the kind of theme that we're going for here. This particular table, perhaps the easiest of all the ones so far to put together. It's the least work involved and perhaps the lowest on budget as well. Really, there is just one battle map being used and one set of pre-painted terrain being used here, and then after that, because of the size of the terrain set that you get, it's just a case of adding in battlefield accessories to fill up the table quite nicely. So the starting point is the foundation. The great thing now is the access to these battle mats here, which act as a great foundation for your games of 40k. So this one here is from Gamemap.eu. It's called Mayhem Square. It's one of the first battle mats that came out from them, but still one of my favourites here, and it's great for city fight type games. So the one that I have is 6x4 in size. So for our games of Strikeforce size battles at 2,000 points, 40k, we don't need the full size of the table. So I just mark the boundary. It's already marked for you anyway with a line across here. It's actually divided just with faint 1 foot square markings on the board, which is very useful. So I just run a line of pipes just to keep the theme of the table, just to separate that off. They do a wide variety of sizes now with Gamemap.eu, so you can get them the standard size now for 40k. You can get them smaller than that. They still do the 6x4s. They also do, for the best value, double-sided battle mats as well. So you actually get two designs, one printed on each side, which is a very good idea. So there's lots of options to go for on the Gamemap.eu website. But that's your starting foundation. Whatever size you decide to go for, it's called Mayhem Square. You'll find it there on the website. I'll put a link for that in the video description below. So the great thing about these battle mats is they roll out nice and flat, just sits dead flat on the board. And this black trim that I have here, which is great for putting out like your stratagems and so on, is actually one of the mats turned upside down. Just gives a nice black soft background, and then just put the mat design on top, and it just acts as a nice frame a nice edge when we're filming games of 40k, but that's a simple trick. Just flip your spare mats over and it gives you a nice backdrop. Just roll the mats out on top. Nice and quiet for dice rolling. They're also figure friendly as well. This is soft rubber with the design printed on top, so any fine cast lead models or even plastic models falling over, a lot less abrasive than sort of scratch built terrain can be. So that's the advantages of the battle mat. So it's Mayhem Square as the starting point. That gives you your colours, your foundation, your theme. There's no roads or anything marked out on this one, so you're very free to put terrain on the board. I've tried to sort of edge the terrain around this square to make it a focal point of the battle, like this area of chaos on the board, and then just to build out the middle, I've started to heap up the Munitorum containers and the other accessories. So moving on from the battle mat, you've got your battle mat, which gives you your foundation, all your colours sorted out, and that's the whole battlefield scape done, which is great, nice and straightforward. Then there's one pre-painted terrain set being used here. It's the Gothic Ruins set from Gamemap.eu as well. This is just one set. Sometimes you need perhaps two sets to fill out a board, but this is a larger set that they do. And so what you're seeing here is one set from them. So in that set, you'll get these two large ruins here. You'll then get this huge ruin across here, this big one, quite towering above the board. Then these smaller ruins here, you get one, and then there's another one of them across there. And then you get four corners. I've put that one there, I've put two here, and then I've put another one across there. And that fills out the table quite nicely. We'll use this as area terrain and obscuring because of the height of it. So, you know, it fills out a 1 foot square quite nicely. And this one here just blocks out the table quite well. Another one across there and another one across there. So that's quite evenly spread out, which is quite fair, whichever way the deployment zones go, whichever armies, however they're deployed across the board, quite fair as well. And obscuring terrain that where you can hide behind entirely is very useful for 9th edition, quite essential as well, just for the deadliness of the armies. So it's quite fair to have nice obscuring terrain on the board. So the Gothic terrain set does that really, really well because the height of it can easily count as obscuring terrain. We observe sort of the footprint, so we'll count this whole square right up to here as obscuring, even though you might be able to see through it. That way we'll still count it as obscuring that whole square like that, and we just agree on that before the game begins. And the same with this one, where you will observe that square there as the obscuring terrain. Now, at this point, to explain, there is a trick that I've used with this terrain. So when I sort of explain, if you can see the colours, if it's coming out on camera, if you look at the grey on here, this terrain has been matched in, but if I show it to you, here's a piece from the Gamemap.eu terrain. It matches in well enough. This is how it comes. So they've sprayed or painted it black, then they've highlighted it with white and grey, I believe, here to give you that kind of pre-painted finish, which is fine. It means you can unbox it. The whole terrain set comes pre-painted. You can unbox it and then just use it straight away. But when I put this out for the first time, I noticed that this has been highlighted with your grey and white just as standard. But if you look at this mat, it's not just a stark pure grey. There's other colours going on in here, especially like a bit of green, a bit of brown going on. There's some rust colours being used. It's got a green kind of tinge to it here. I'm just looking at the video at the moment. It does seem to be coming out. Whereas here, it's just quite a stark grey. If I bring it out to here, perhaps you can see it a bit clearer. So to adjust the colour, this is easily done. You don't have to do it, but if you really want to match the colours in, then you can make a slight adjustment with some spray cans. So if I show you the difference, so if I put that there, that's a stark kind of grey colours there with no other colours being used. There's the battle mat. If I just tone this down a little bit. And then this is the one that I've adjusted. Now can you see this matching in with here? As opposed to this one. So it's alright. It's not too bad. I mean, it's nothing to get too fussed about. But if you really want to match it up, then I'll show you how to get the two tones matching. It's easily done. It'll take about 10 minutes work. So the first thing, if I go in a bit here, is the starkness of the highlight. So you can tone that down a bit just to soften the highlighting by using as Army Painter Uniform Grey. You have a light spray over that. So you're not looking to spray the whole thing, but just a light dusting of that colour, and that'll knock the highlight down and just tone it down a bit. Take away the starkness. It'll tone down the white, and it'll also lift the black recess a little bit as well, because it'll cover the whole thing. Just a light, very, very light sweeping dusting of that, and then introducing a little bit of colour for a little bit of rust. It's the Army Painter Leather Brown. And then for the green, and you've got to go very light on this one. This one is Angel Green here. It's the Dark Angels equivalent here from Army Painter. It's just those sprays, and you start to combine them together. You shift from that over to that. So you're not repainting this. All you're doing is adjusting it. You're adjusting the tone to fit in with the battle mat. So light dusting of the grey. That just takes away the harshness of the shading and the highlight. Just tones it all down, softens it. And then flicking on a little bit of brown, introducing a little bit of rust, which you can see on the battlefield in places. And then the green tone, that tinge of green that this has, again, is just a very, very light dash of this colour here, this Angel Green from Army Painter. Now this is optional, but I've done this across this terrain set, and it is noticeable the difference. I think it's worth it if you're trying to match up your colour tones nicely, because the whole idea is you want your terrain to match your battle mat as closely as possible, so the whole thing looks organic, the whole thing looks like it's meant to be there. And when you set up terrain, you can get the effect of battle mat looks one shade, the terrain looks a different shade, and the two just don't quite match. And I like it with terrain where you can just blend everything together so the whole thing looks like it belongs together, which it would do in real life. You know, the buildings would match in with the pavement and so on to a degree. They'd be blended in nicely as one terrain piece. So that is easily done. I'd highly recommend that you do it. It's very, 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 very quick to do, because you're not repainting the terrain set at all. All you're doing is giving it a light dusting of different sprays. So Army Painter Uniform Grey, and then just a very, very light amount of leather brown, and the same with the green, and that'll turn it from this harsher colour, which is okay, but that harsher colour, to a better colour match. Just showing the examples of those two. So what you're seeing here, by the way, is you get these terrain pieces, but they also give you these. And what you can do with these is slot them into the gaps, like so, to actually make solid walls. So there's another one just in there, and you just slot that in there, and then you've got, so you can go for gaps or you can go for solid walls. I've done it across there as well, if there are areas you actually physically want to block off. So you may have units inside area terrain, but they can't see through the wall, and the opponent can't see through the wall to fire at it, so it just adds another way of blocking line of sight in the game as well. So quite an ingenious idea from Gamemap.eu. Useful accessories. If you don't use them, then you can just incorporate them into the terrain as well, so those options are available. They also do thin ones, and across here, those I've put in to make that wall solid. Also, that comes as part of the Gothic Ruins set. So just, unless that's explained, perhaps you wouldn't notice, but that's just giving you the tips for that one. It's easily done, as I said, for this terrain set here, this actual battlefield setup, perhaps the easiest to put together, and the best on budget as well. You basically, to get the majority of this battlefield complete, is one battle mat and then one terrain set, and that's pretty much the battlefield filled out. After that is terrain and accessories. So my usual sort of standard 40k accessories. I'm a massive fan of Munitorum armoured containers, because they're so adaptable. You can put them on their own, park them next to each other, stack them up as high as you want. There's all sorts of different ways, just like Lego blocks really. But it means that instead of using a building, I don't want to put a building in the middle, so I can use Munitorum armoured containers to build up some height and place to hide behind, and so on. In recent games that we played, units were tucking and hiding in here, holding on to a middle objective, and the opponent couldn't see them, so they perform a function very nicely. So for Munitorum armoured containers, they're very easily painted up. You just give them a spray. As I made these ones like Cadian style. There's a Blood Angels one, an Ultramarines one just there, but there's no need to spend very much time on those. Very easily put together and painted up. And there is, in fact, and I'll link it for you, there is a full painting tutorial for the Munitorum armoured containers on the channel. Some of the containers, you can do it on the buildings as well. I haven't yet put it on the buildings, but you can add on your posters, your 40k propaganda posters, which is a great effect to add. There is a full tutorial for that on the channel as well, so I'll link that in the video description below. Just you're trying to create personality to your terrain, to bring it to life, to make it feel like it's a proper 40k terrain setup. And so accessories, battlefield accessories like this are well worth it. And once you have them, you can use them for whatever battlefield. You know, you notice I can use these in the urban setting, in the jungle, in the snow, whatever. You can use these terrain pieces for whatever table you set up. So there's other terrain accessories on the board. There's these here. These are 40k battlefield terrain accessories. Same here, these tank traps, these boxes and barrels, all from the 40k terrain accessories set. There's a couple of Adeptus Mechanicus terrain bits as well. I think this is from the AdMech terrain set that they give you the buildings. Then there's also some AdMech bits as well, just things I put together that I transfer them to different battlefields that I have. That helps to build up the terrain quite nicely. So I highly recommend the Munitorum armoured containers because they're so versatile and you can use them. You can use them to block off roads, you can add them onto the edges of buildings and stack them up. There's so many uses for them. And it introduces a few different colours as well, and a bit of life and personality onto the battlefield. So then as we think about blending the terrain in, just to try and merge and match the whole thing in nicely, because you get your large terrain piece, you put it on the board, and it can look quite stark and like it doesn't fit on the table. So we've tried to blend it in with the colours that we've talked about by using the spray cans, but also you can see the stones and scatter, which I've covered already in the Warzone Nachman Battlefield Frontieris set that I've done. It's the same stones that you see here. That's basically just sand and stones. I've sieved out the sand for basing and the stones have been left behind. So with the stones that were left behind, I then gave them a spray of grey, and it's the same grey that I've used for all my urban basing for the different armies that I have. So that grey is, and you can get different greys that match, and you don't have to use this grey here, but I've been using this one for years and it's worked fine. It's Stealth, it's called. The code is 7070, and it's by Montana. It's the Montana Gold spray can range, available no problem in the UK. Pretty good on price as well for spray cans, and this one gives you that colour grey just there. And you notice on the models that I have my urban sort of colour scheme, it's that grey that I've used for all of those different factions. So a big fan of that colour. So I actually take the stones, put them in a tray, and then just literally spray the stones and then let it dry for a bit, give it a shake, and then spray again, and you're taking away the natural sand and stone colour and transforming it into this grey to match up with my terrain. It means that it matches up with the basing for my models exactly right. Once that's been sprayed enough, and enough of the stones, you don't have to do it perfectly, but enough of the stones have been sprayed that grey, then use a little bit of uniform grey, which is a medium sort of grey. Give it a dash, a quick spray of that in the tray, shake it up as much or as little as you want. Then you've got your two tones of grey, dark grey and your medium tone grey going on. And then after that, to finish off, you can either put a wash over these, or to introduce a bit of brown, simply take a little bit of the leather brown from Army Painter. So again, noticing the same brown that you've used to tone in these, the same brown using on the stones, and that's just to add in a bit of extra colour. So again, you're trying to take away the starkness of the grey and introduce a bit of dirt and grime and so on, just to match it in. If you want to do stones to only match in with this terrain, then if you want to, you could introduce a bit of that. I haven't done that. I've kept this sort of just a bit of rust on these because I do use these stones for other terrain setups. I don't want to introduce the green into that, so I've kept it just the rust colour coming through. You've got other accessories. This is spare bits from the Nachman terrain set, spare bits from tank kits, sprayed silver, and then just washes over the top, and then just a light dry brush of silver after that, just to represent rusting tank parts. Spare bits of terrain. It's a piece from a Razorback or Rhino, Space Marines. I just love adding these accessories, just brings the whole thing to life. There's a spare las gun from Munitorum kit. You can leave them scattered around the streets, abandoned weapons. All those little things to add in little bits of personality. A spare piece from a 40k terrain set. Just drop that in there, and you just use it to blend the whole thing in, and just to make it look like the whole terrain piece belongs together. Also use it around the edges, see along here, just to match in, so to blend in the terrain piece with the board. Some stones and scatter. I've tucked some in there, some around here, and it just blends the whole thing in nicely. It's easily done. When I pack, people say, how long does it take to pack up your terrain? I'd pack this away in 10 minutes, no problem at all. Take away all the large terrain pieces, put them in a box, pick up all my accessories, put them away in a tub that I have where all the accessories go, and all you're left with is the stones. And all you do, pick up the corners of your mat, roll all the stones into the middle, and then pull the mat across, and then with the tray that I have tucked under here, I just pull all the stones in, sweep them away, and that's it, packed up, no problem at all. So very, very straightforward, just packing away, despite all the little details going on. Very easily packed up, just 10 minutes. So it's handy enough to let you know that bit of information. You may well be playing at a club or somewhere where you have to pack up. You think, oh, I don't want to take an hour. Packing things away literally takes 10 minutes. So very easily done. So that is it. This is a straightforward one here, perhaps a good one to start with. I really hope this helps you out with your own hobby, gives you some inspiration to put together your own battlefield. Perhaps you could do it as a secret project. You've got a group of friends, perhaps you're a bit lacking on terrain. Well, then you could go for a setup like this with all the accessories, all the details we've talked about. You'll be surprised at how straightforward and easy it is to put together. And then perhaps one games night you can surprise your friends with a real nice piece of terrain to play your games of 40k. So that's the video. Check out all the links. They'll be in the video description below and also in the comments section as well. Do let me know how you get on in the comments section. It'd be great to hear back from you, the progress that you've made, and if this video has been a help. Check out the other videos in the series as well. And then for your sprays and other 40k terrain accessories and so on, it's gamemap.eu. I'll link all that out. But also Goblin Gaming for your spray paints and hobby accessories and so on. I'll put a link for them in the video description as well. But that's the video. Keep a lookout for more in the series, and we'll close off the video here with some music and some panning shots across this Warhammer 40,000 battlefield.